welcome back. Welcome back to the reef. Everybody's still swimming around. It's nice to see everybody here, having fun. Today I'm going to show you my deck. Yeah, my Master Duel deck. About Mermails. I've had a lot of success with it. I believe I have like a 64% win rate or some shit. We're going to do a quick rundown of the deck, and then after that I'll break it down. Before we continue, don't forget to splash that like button. Then you can swim on over to that buoy bell and slap that bitch. That way you'll be notified whenever I make more of this high quality mermail sexual content. Mermail decks can be built however the fuck you want. Like, you can put so many different things in them. Anything you're thinking of putting in the deck, like, well, why don't you run that? I've ran it, and it slowly found its way out of my deck. We're gonna start off with the Atlanteans, 3 Neptybus, 3 Dragoons, 2 Infantry. For the Mermails, we have 3 Teus, only 1 Megalo, 1 Pike, and 1 Gund. For the Deep Sea cards, we run 3 Diva, 2 Minstrel. For the oddballs, we have the 1 Fishborg Launcher, the 1 Lapis Dragon, 1 Mooling Glacia, and 2 Gemasil, the Sea Turtle Kaiju. For the hand traps, 1 Maxi, 1 Ash, and the controversial 3 Spooky Dogwoods. Bitch! Wait for my explanation before you judge the fuck out of me, okay? Just wait for it. I promise you, it'll make sense in the end. For the spell cards, we run 1 1-for-1, 2 Moray of Greed, 2 Deep Sea Aria, 1 Miguchi Armor, or Mizuchi, 2 Called by the Grave, and 3 Crossout Designators. For the extra deck, 1 Formula Synchron, 1 Dragite, 1 Trishula, 1 Baron de Fleur, 1 Totally Awesome, 1 Bahamut Shark, Mermail Abyss Kaijus, Mistar Boy, Mermail Abyss Alesia, 1 Halka Fibrax, Coral Anemone, Ujinki Ahashima, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, 1 Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess, and 1 Axos Code Talker. And now, I'm going to go through each one of them and explain why it's in the deck. A lot of them don't even need explanation, but I'm going to go ahead and give it anyway. Neptybus, the Atlantean Prince. Everything in this deck revolves around this card. It facilitates all of your combos for the most part. It lets you send for cost, which is fantastic because if you have a problematic floodgate on the field, you can just send as cost 1 of your infantry and pop the shit, and then you get to add from your deck to your hand an Atlantean monster for further plays. Also, if it's sent to the graveyard, you can then summon 1 of your Atlantean monsters from the graveyard to the field, which is wonderful. It's basically a part of your main OTK, using Dragoons back to the field with Megalo and stuff like that. So, very, very good card. Always run 3. Next up, we have Atlantean Dragoons, which is the main card you want to be sending to the graveyard. It allows you to search all Sea Serpent monsters, which is the majority of your deck. Things like Mooling Glacia come to mind, as well as Minstrel. Also the Lapis Dragon, Megalos. It's just the main search card, pretty much. You always want to be sending this with a water monster to the grave to get its effects. It has a secondary effect, which allows all level 3 or lower Sea Serpent monsters to attack directly, but that, I don't know when the last time that ever came up for me. Still worth mentioning, I guess. That's not once per turn, which is ridiculous, and you get to run 3 of them, so I'm slinging them Dragoons all over the fucking place. It's wonderful. Next up, we have Atlantean Heavy Infantry. Now, this card, it's the main discard for destruction. With the water monster, you send it to the graveyard, and then you get to activate its effect in grave to destroy something on the field that's face up. A very good card. I don't run 3, that's a little bit cloggy. My main rule for deck building is if I want to see it in my hand every time, I will always put 3. If I have 2 of them, it's because I want to be able to draw it during the game. And if I only have 1 of them, it's a part of a combo, or I can just search it and I don't need more than one. So that's kind of my rule. Another cool effect that infantry has is that it can summon itself and then another level 4 or lower sea serpent monster afterwards as another normal summon. It's a bonus normal summon, which is wonderful. If I don't have Diva on the field, but I have a infantry and a Nepty, I will go ahead and do the same combo. It's another Diva combo, and without using a Diva, so it's very, very good. All you need is an extra body on the field, and you can go into the same exact combo. Next up, we got Mermails. We're gonna start off with everyone's favorite Mermail, Mermail Abyssteus. It is the easiest level 7 to get on board. It doesn't have that. It's a kind of an underwhelming attack of 1700, but that doesn't really matter. You're not using it to crash over shit. It's literally there just to go into either Link plays, Synchro plays, or XC plays. But also, when you summon it, it allows you to search out a level 4 or lower Mermail monster, Gund, Pike, and things like that for the other parts of the combo. Abyssteus, it is Aqua, sadly, so we can't search it off of Dragoons, which kind of sucks, always has sucked. But there's a few cards out there nowadays that'll let you do that. Abyssalacia comes to mind. The Ice Barrier Trap comes to mind. And you should always be running 3 of these. My boy Megalo, throughout the years, this number has really just gotten lower and lower. You used to run 3, then you ran 2. I only run 1. Some people still run 2, but there's so many ways to get monsters back from the graveyard. With the Starboy, totally awesome, Abyssalacia. But Megalo's your mainstay OTK card in the main deck. It allows you to search out Mizuchi, which we will get to in a minute. There's not much to say about Megalo. He's just a beast. I only run 1 of them. You don't really need much more than that. Next, we have Mermail Abyss Pike. This is my least favorite card to just draw. I don't like wasting my normal summons on his ass, but it's okay. He can search a level 3 water monster and add it from your deck to your hand, which is pretty nice. Lets you get, Gund. It lets you get any level 3 water monster from your deck to your hand. That's really nice. I like it a lot. Pike is only really used for the Teus Dragoons combo. Otherwise, he's pretty bricky. He's also a level 4, so you can go into, XE plays and stuff like that with Dragoons. Next up, we have Mermail Abyss Gund. Gund is that card that lets you get any Mermail back from your graveyard, which is essential for, grind game. If you ever have an Abyss Gaius or an Abyssalacia or a Megalo or anything like that, go to the graveyard. When you discard this, meaning any kind of discard, like Twin Twisters or whatever the fuck it is, even off of a Nightmare Unicorn, as long as it's being discarded specifically, you can get any Mermail monster back and special summon it to the field. So very, very good card for extending and recovery and combos. Also another card that is used in the Goons Teus combo. For the deep sea stuff, we have 3 Deep Sea Diva. You always want to run 3 of these. Diva is the main way we get to Nepty. You can get any level 3 or lower Sea Serpent, so you can get tuners, you can get an infantry, you can go into some crazy shit with it. It's really, really cool. Yeah, but Diva's just very, very good card. It's a tuner, level 2. I'm so glad it went back to 3. It was at 1 for quite a long time, so this is nice. We're running 2 of the Deep Sea Minstrel. I don't want 3 because I don't ever want to see 2 in my hand. And when you run 3 of things, a lot of times you will get doubles in your hand for some reason. It is a level 3 water, so you can search it off of Pike. It's also a tuner, which is fantastic. The main reason we run this card, Minstrel does something that not many decks can do. They can spy on your opponent's hand, as well as banish one of the cards in their hand for a turn. So it's a great way to stop Nibiru's, Ash, Maxi, any kind of problematic card in your hand. If you know you can go into things like Mooling Glacier, you don't want to be targeting good cards with this. Because if you choose the good card, and then you snatch 2 cards from their hand to go to the graveyard with Mooling Glacier, well, then that one good card that you took with Minstrel goes back to their hand at the end of the turn, which is stupid. You always want to pull bullshit or hand traps if you know they're going to stop you in your turn. This allows you to see into what your opponent's playing, which is amazing in this game. You always want to have a heads up on what's going on. knowledge of your opponent's plays is crucial to Yu-Gi-Oh! But yeah, Minstrel, I always recommend running at least one of these. A very good card. You can also search it off of Dragoons, which is great. And now for the odds and end cards, we have one Fishborg Launcher, which is the glow-up bulb for the deck. As long as everything in your graveyard is water, you can summon it back out. This card is fantastic for extension. Once you use it for like a link or a synchro, as long as every monster in your graveyard is water, you can resummon it back to the field, which is great for extension, combo plays, stuff like that. I use it a lot to get into like Appaloosa or Dragites and stuff like that. So I love this card. You don't necessarily need more than one because you can search it off of 1-for-1 as well as Halqa-Fibrax. But, you know, if you choose to, whatever. I mean, it's kind of a brick when you have nothing else in your hand. But yeah, Fishborg Launcher, very good card. And then we have the one Lapis Dragon. This card is a great extension card. Your Neptybus sends Dragoons. Dragoons will search any Sea Serpent. As soon as this card is added to your hand by way of graveyard or deck, you can then activate its effect and summon itself to the field. Sadly, when you draw this on your first 5, you can't have that effect go off, obviously. So it's kind of like the brick of all bricks. This is the Garnet of the deck, but otherwise, it's a tuner. It's level 5. You can summon it straight from the hand to the field when you draw it, or gain it when you add it to your hand. It's great for just extending and going into Halqa-Fibrax plays. As well as if you have a Coral Dragon in your deck, you can use Neptybus plus it to go into Coral Dragon, which is fantastic for popping stuff on the field. So there's applications. Also, Coral Anemone can summon this from the graveyard since it has less than 1500 attack, which is good too. Has a big fat booty. Look at that. Oh, 2600. That ain't nothing to sneeze at most times, but yeah, great tuner, level 5. And then we have the granddaddy of them all, Moulin Glacia, the Elemental Lord. This one right here is still to this day one of my favorite cards in the deck. Has an effect where if you have exactly 5 water monsters in your graveyard, you can summon this to the field. Once it's special summoned to the field by its own effect, you can rip 2 cards out of your opponent's hand and discard them. And they're random too, so your opponent doesn't get to pick. You're just gonna snatch 2 cards. It's like a delinquent duo, but just like nowadays. It's one of the only cards left that do that kind of thing. It's very powerful. Once you rip the cards, you can actually see what they're playing most of the time, which is great. Or you'll be pulling out things that, you know, like Regekis and Lightning Storm, stuff like that. It's nice to just pull away cards that they need to clear your board. And it's fair to mention this too. Some decks nowadays want cards to go to the graveyard a lot of times, so it's not as potent. Sometimes you don't want their cards going to the graveyard, so it's a little iffy. But still, having card advantage is huge in my opinion. So, but if it's removed from the field, you lose your next battle phase. So it's kind of, you know, but it doesn't matter. You can also use this card and go into a rank 8 XC play, which doesn't count as being removed off the field. It's kind of a strange interaction. A lot of times I will use Moulin Glacia and a Formula Synchron, and then I'll go into a Baron de Fleur, which is a very, very strong combo. When you synchro this monster off, you will lose your next battle phase. Just keep that in mind. Moulin Glacia will always have a spot in my deck. Mr. Sea Cow himself. And then we have the 2 Gameciel. Is it Gameciel or is it Gameciel? I've always called it Gameciel because I really don't care. Gameciel, the Sea Turtle Kaiju. You always want to have Kaijus in your deck of some kind. It's just convenient that we have one that's, you know, the lowest attack. Also, it's water, so it's very convenient for the Mermail deck to have these. I don't run 3 because then I draw them way too much. I don't want to see it every single game because it's not necessary. It's kind of just a dead card to pitch to the graveyard usually. Very good card. Lets you get rid of pretty much any problematic boss monster or floodgate monster on the field. Unless I'm building like a going second variant, I will always just run 2 of these. Alright, now for the hand trap cards. I run the 1 Max C. Just one. You don't want to run too many cards that are hand traps. That are, you know, other attributes, because it's really gonna screw up a lot of stuff if you have a, you know, 3 Max C, 2 Effect Veiler, 3 Ash. It's just like you're flooding your deck full of shit that's gonna stop your plays. So I run the 1 Max C because card advantage is king in this game. It really, really is. I run one of these just for crossout target, and same thing with Ash, which is the next card. I run only one of them. It's like the most generic hand trap you can imagine. It basically stops the most amount of interactions in a game. I only run one of these and Max C, just as crossout targets, generally speaking. If you end up drawing it, then great, you just have a really good hand trap in your hand. That's fantastic. It's not really a downside. It's not a brick card like a Lapis Dragon or Gamma Seal or whatever. Like they actually have a function. You can stop your opponent's plays in their turn, so it's very good. And then next on the list, now, I have a lot to say about this card. Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood. Right away, don't you leave, don't you dare leave. It's not a meme. I'm gonna tell you why it works in this deck specifically. Don't you dare. I see you clicking off it. Don't fucking do it. Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood is actually great in Mermails. And I'll tell you why. I'm just gonna say it right away. It's not another Max C. Card advantage is way more important than life points. This card is amazing. Specifically in my build too, it's really, really good. It's a level 3, it's water, it's a tuner. We were lucky enough to have a hand trap that is water, that won't fuck us up. I have used this so many times, and it has stopped my opponent in their tracks. I promise you, it will do that. The only thing is, people say, well, why would you give up half your life points to be able to stop somebody? Don't be a fucking moron. I'm sorry. Like, I have to go on a rant here, by the way. Yu-Gi-Oh! Players don't like to read cards for some reason, especially in Master Duel. But as soon as they use an effect that will summon a monster, then you use it. You don't have to give away half your life points. You know what I mean? Like, once you bait him in the chain, boom, you don't have to worry about that secondary clause. You know what I'm saying? We use a card called Solemn Judgment all the time, and we don't even bat an eye. And all that does is stop one thing. When you use Spooky Dogwood, you can stop an entire turn, because they start to see you gaining 1900, 2000. Before they blink, you have 5000 extra life points. They stop. They're like, well, this is gonna get ridiculous pretty soon. It's already stupid. I have ended their turn with 25,000 life points before, okay? So this is no joke. A very good card if you know how to use it, but also, I would say giving up half your life points to stop an opponent's turn is pretty dope. Like, I don't know why. That's just my thinking. But it also has a great synergy with a card in the spell cards, Deep Sea Aria, which we will get to soon. But you can pitch itself. Also, once you pitch it, they can't use a Gamma. I mean, they can, but they're going to give you, what was it say, 2,500, like 3,500 life points? They're going to give you 3,500 life points if they ever use Gamma on your play, because it special summons itself. So, okay. I mean, but are you going to use a Gamma in response to this? Because then you waste your Gamma. This is 500 IQ play, guys. I'm just telling you. Pitch this to the graveyard, and then you can make your Deep Sea Aria online. I just like the fact that if I need to, I can go ahead and summon a Megalo and just pitch one of these as material, because it's water. Yeah, that's good. Like, I've used them all the time. I've had nothing but success with it, so I don't know, man. I think everybody should be running this. If you're running a water-based deck, Ghost Sister, Spooky Dogwood, that shit's where it's at, man. So that's just me, though. Alright, moving on to the spell cards. 1 for 1. This is just a staple card. If Konami ever lets us have more than one of these, I will be running more of these. This is just another way to get to Neptybus. Or Fishborg Launcher if you really need it. Next we have Moray of Greed. This is the best card for fixing your hands. Let's say you open with a Mooling Glacia, a Gamma Seal, a Pike, and a Lapis Dragon, as well as this card. Like, it's just trash. What are you going to do with that hand? You know what I mean? Like, you can't really do too much with it. So you use your Moray of Greed, you get to send 2 of those water monsters back into the deck, and then you get to throw this card away, and then you draw 3. So you're essentially just fixing most of your hand, which is wonderful. That's come up so many times. I usually always run 2 of these just to fix hands, and it usually works. So yeah, Warrior of Greed, wonderful card. Next up we have Deep Sea Aria, which I just spoke on with the Spooky Dogwood. You just need any water monster in your graveyard, you banish it, and then you can add to your hand 1 level 4 or lower Sea Serpent monster. So Deep Sea Aria, all monsters that pitch, like your Minstrels, your Teus, your Megalos, even your Pike really, Spooky Dogwood. You can also run frogs if you choose to. But yeah, we have plenty of ways to get water monsters to the graveyard for sure. So Deep Sea Aria is like my #1 way to get to Diva. So yeah, I run 2 of those. Then we have Miguchi Armor, because when you wear it, you Gucci, son. Yeah, it is a very, very unique card. Not only does it give a Mermail monster 800 attack, it also negates a spell effect at resolution. So cards like Dark Ruler No More get negated by this. Forbidden Droplet. Yeah, it's just like the strongest cards in the game these days can get negated by this card. And the opponent usually gets so mad when this goes through. They're just like, how the fuck? Ah! They get so triggered to shit, and it's great because they don't read. Nobody reads. Sadly, when they use some dog shit spell, you can't stop it from going off unless you negate its activation with like Toad or something like that. But yeah, Abyss Scale of the Muguchi. And then the all-stars, in my opinion, of the deck, which keeps this deck alive and competitive, Called by the Grave. I run 2 of them, obviously, because we can only have 2. But this stops most hand traps, anything that is in the graveyard, as well as things like Golden Lord from Eldritch. You can use it on Ava from Drytron. Yeah, this card is great. You can just banish it from the graveyard. I mainly use it just for hand traps because the main 2 cards you always see in everyone's deck is Maxi and Ash. I will always have this card at 2 in my deck to stop those cards, as well as the next card, Crossout Designator. Now, I don't see people running this card, and it's very strange to me. Crossout Designator is like my #1 way to keep my plays live. Keeps my Deep Sea Diva and Nepty plays like... Yeah, Crossout, I don't run that many targets for Crossout Designator, but there are 4 notable ones in the deck. Like I said before, Maxi, Ash. Also, you can cross out Called by the Grave, which is fantastic, as well as 1-for-1. Some decks run 1-for-1. Being able to stop those from being activated is really, really strong. But yeah, 3 Crossout Designator. Definitely run 3. Alright, for the extra deck, we run the 1... Formula Synchron. Now this card is great in a couple ways. Halqifibrax can summon this on your opponent's turn. It will then in turn let you draw 1 card, which that alone is very good. But then with a quick effect, you can use it and something on the field and synchro summon to a bigger monster. I usually pair that with my Moulin Glacia or a Dragite to go into Baron de Fleur, which that play alone, man, that usually makes your opponent scoop, which I find funny. But you have to be very, very careful on your timing with this. If you chain your Halqifibrax to a monster effect, it can usually screw up the whole timing with Formula Synchron. I recommend just wait for the resolution of an effect or when they're about to go into their battle phase. So just be careful. Next, we have the Adamancipator Risen Dragite, which you can go into with a Fishborg launcher as well as one of your level 7 monsters. This card is pretty damn nice. The first effect doesn't really matter. The secondary effect is the one we're paying attention to. As long as you have a water monster in your graveyard, you can negate a spell or trap card's effect once per turn. This is a reoccurring negate, which is wonderful to keep on the field. And also it has just a big body, 3000 beater. That's like pretty nice to have just there. Yeah, I recommend everybody play this card. Next we have Trishula, the Dragon of the Ice Barrier. This card is great. You can banish a monster in your opponent's graveyard, as well as a random card in their hand, which, you know, degeneracy, but hilarious at the same time. I love this card. I don't think I'll ever not run it, just because it's so easy to make. It's also part of your biggest combo with Teus and Dragoons, so, you know. And then the queen herself, Baronne de Fleur, or Baroness de Fleur, depending on whatever you want to say. This card is amazing. It's sort of brand new to Master Duel. Was just about, 3 weeks ago now released, and it really made a major impact on the meta right away. This card is fantastic. It is a once per turn pop, which is great. Also, it has an Omni Negate while it's on the field at least once. So if you have this and a Toad, it's just lights out. You know, you're gonna stop a lot of stuff. Also, it allows you to send itself back to the extra deck and special summon from your graveyard one level 9 or lower monster to the field. That's pretty fucking strong in my opinion. You can bring back whatever material you use to make this thing, which is really, really strong. I love this card. And then once you remake it, you get the Omni Negate once again. But yeah, the once per turn pop effect alone is like worth running this card in my opinion. But yeah. All right, on to the XCs. We have the one totally awesome because they won't let us have any more, sons of bitches. I'd run 3 if I could, really. Then I'd throw the frog engine back into the deck. But until then, I'm not running the frogs currently. I don't really need them. This is your number 1 Omni Negate that we make. You make it with the Diva combo. You can go into rank 4 XCs, make a Bahamut Shark, and then make this. Once per turn, it allows you to send one Aqua Monster to the graveyard from your hand or the field. Then you can Omni Negate anything you want, which is really, really strong. You have quite a few Aqua Monsters. You got your Gundy, you got your 3 Teus, and you got 2 Gamma Seal. So those are 6 targets that you can use to negate effects, which is really, really strong. Usually you're going to have at least one of those in your hand. But yeah, it could also target itself and discard itself for an Omni Negate too. And once it's sent to the graveyard, you get to return 1 water monster to your hand, so you can bring back a Diva or whatever you want to start a play, a Teus, or you can bring back your Megalo if your OTK didn't go through. Also, you can return extra deck monsters back to the extra deck, like Halka-Fibrax or itself or whatever. So yeah, totally awesome, very strong card. Anyone who can play it should be playing it. An Omni Negate is extremely strong. And then it's partner in crime, Bahamut Shark, the main way you get it out. Bahamut Shark is used in the main combo, the Diva combo. When you use its effect to summon Totally Awesome, sadly you cannot attack with this monster, but that's fair. If you use your Megalo and you discard this Bahamut Shark from the field to activate Megalo's effect, whatever material you have underneath it, like a Dragoon's, will actually activate. Somehow it counts as the pitching from the field to activate a water monster effect. So that's some cool interaction that not many people know about. It's one of those weird rulings, but yeah, it's a pretty good card. It's the same thing as like the Mooling Glacia not leaving the field if it's used for an XE. So it's just one of those loopholes you can get through. But yeah, activating a Dragoon's underneath it when you pitch it is really, really cool with the Megalo. Also, I use the Bahamut Shark to go into link plays as well, because it's pretty much pointless on the field otherwise. But I usually use it to go into like an Appaloosa or whatever at the end of the play. So very good for extension. You know, it's just a very good card to have in your deck. Then we have Mermail Abyss Gaios. This card is basically a floodgate. It's a Mermail monster, so you can use your Miguchi armor on it and bring it up to, what is that, 3,600? And if you have a Starboy on top of that, you're basically over 4,000. And it has 2 effects. One of them is any level 5 or higher monsters cannot attack. Xyz are not leveled. They are ranks, just like Link monsters. But things like Synchros, they are leveled, just like normal and effect monsters. So keep that in mind. Sometimes it can gimp you when you can't go in for a game because you're like, well, fuck, why can't my, I don't know, why can't my Mooling Glacia attack right now? Well, there you go. Now you figured it out. But the other effect is the main one. This is it's kind of like a crap VFD, a true king of all calamities. Anything that has less attack than it cannot activate its effects on your opponent's side of the field. So that's really, really strong. It's a floodgate. It literally is. You bring this out and they don't have anything. Of course, like when you're going to start a combo, you're not going to slap like a 5,000 beater on the field and use an effect. You're going to have to start from the bottom up using your smaller monsters. So this can really just shut down your opponent's turn alone, you know. So yeah, very good card. It's a very stunning card in reality. I have one of these. It's all silver and shiny and carved. It's probably the most beautiful card in Yu-Gi-Oh! In my opinion, but you know, whatever. But yeah, Mermail Abyss Gaios. Fantastic XC monster. Always run it. Just takes 2 level 7s to XC. Now for the Link monsters, we have a Mistar Boy, which this card is great for combo plays. It has a very strong place in the Teus Goons combo. I use it a lot of times just to crash over shit, because 500 extra attack across the board. That can turn like non-lethal into lethal on your field, especially for Mermails. But it has a secondary effect. If it's sent to the graveyard, sort of just like Totally Awesome, it'll let you bring back a water monster to your hand. Of course, you can use it on itself. You can use it on Totally Awesome. Any of your water monster extra deck monsters will go back to the extra deck. So same thing. Really, really good for recursion. Really good thing for grind game. But mainly I use it for combos. Next up we have Mermail Abyss Lacia. This card is just great. Any monster this card points to gains 500 attack and defense. That's kind of like whatever. A lot of times that'll give you a little enough to crash over something. But the 2 main effects that I use it for, it has a quick effect where you can send any card from your hand to the graveyard. So it doesn't have to be water monster, just any card you're just discarding. And then you can add a Mermail monster from your deck to your hand, which is really, really good. It's one of the only ways we can get to Teus. Sadly, it's not like on your turn, but you know, whatever. It's cool. It's still a really, really good card. And also, when this card is destroyed, you can send 1 water monster from your deck to the graveyard, and then special summon 1 water monster from your graveyard. So yeah, Mermail Abyss Lacia, I definitely recommend people play it. Some people don't. I don't know why. Doesn't take much. You can make it with anything in your deck, so yeah. And then we have Crystron Halqifibrax. Hopefully this card stays legal for quite a while, because it really enables this deck to go and go and go. It's a part of your Diva combo. Halqifibrax lets you special summon a level 3 or lower tuner monster from your deck or hand to the field in defense position. So it's like, it lets you bring out your Fishborg launcher, your, in my case, Spooky Dogwoods, or Minstrels, or Diva, or whatever. There's so many ways, even Ash if you wanted to for some reason. So yeah, it's a very, very strong card. It'll let you go into multiple combos. Yeah, this is like one of the strongest cards in the meta right now. Hopefully they don't ban it. Like, it would suck if they do, because that would shut down a lot of stuff. I don't really see them getting rid of this card though, because it was just reprinted in the TCG. So yeah, it's a very, very strong card. Everyone should be running one of these. Also has the secondary effect where you can quick effect send this card to the graveyard and then summon a Synchro Tuner monster from your extra deck. So that's how we get into our Formula Synchron Baron de Fleur play. It's really, really strong. And it's also one of the biggest parts of the combo. So next we have Marincess Coral Anemone. This card is one of the main cards you use for your Teus Goons combo. It allows you to special summon a water monster with 1500 or less attack. It's very, very good. You use it to summon back your Neptibus. Then your Neptibus can then use his effects to discard and add to the hand. So very, very good for the combo. Very good extender. I run one of these. I will not run more than one of these because it locks you into water, which is kind of dog shit. Yeah, still run it just for that combo. Buchinki Ahashima. Now, this card is one of the main cards you use with the Diva play. As long as you have 2 of the same level monsters, you can make this. You would use a Fishborg launcher in Neptibus, make this, and then you take your Dragoons that you sent to the graveyard and Dragoons that's in your hand, then you overlay into a level 4 XC, namely Bahamut Shark, and then you make Toad, and then you go on from there. So it's really, really strong. This card is very, very good. Sadly, you can't link it away, but that actually works out in our case because then Fishborg is still live. You can't have anything that's not water in the graveyard for Fishborg to function, so... but you can use it for things like access code talkers, another target to banish in order to pop something on your opponent's side of the field. So, you know, it has its purposes, but yeah. And then we run one Nightmare Unicorn. This card is really, really strong. It's a non-destruction removal. They have something that says cannot be destroyed by card effects. Well, this is not destroying, it's just spinning it back to the deck, which is really, really good. But yeah, I run one of these just because it's so easy to make. Link 3 is not hard to get in this deck at all. And then you can climb from there. If you want to use this plus one more monster, go into like an Appaloosa or whatever. Speaking of Appaloosa, Bow of the Goddess. This card alone makes your opponent say fuck it, and you can get at least 3 negates of monster effects with this card. That on top of like 2 Ami negates is just super strong. There's not much your opponent can do, you know, when that happens. A lot of times they'll just try to summon something and crash over it, but usually doesn't work because it's 2400 attack. Not many things can just crash right into that kind of shit. And then the final monster in the extra deck, Access Code Talker. It's the second way to get lethal on board other than your Megalo. This card can destroy things on the field. You can end this card with 6,300 attack. Yeah, it's just such a bonkers card. I love this card. It's just a way to just crash and just end the game right then and there. I used to not run it, and then I realized, man, if they get rid of my Megalo and I can't get it back, that's it. So I put it back in the deck, and oh man, it's been like lights out since that. So yeah, that wraps up the deck profile. Sorry it was so long of a video, but it was important that I explain why I run each of the things I run. I have I think it's 64% win rate with this deck, which is just pretty ridiculous compared to a lot of decks. 64% is really, really strong. I definitely recommend a lot of these cards, specifically Spooky Dogwood, Moray of Greed, as well as the Crossouts. These are cards that people don't usually run for some reason. I really, really recommend them. They've been nothing but successful for me. I will be showing this deck in action. I'm going to go straight back to my climb. I plan on climbing all the way to Platinum 1 with this. I was real close, only 2 wins away, and the whole season reset. So that was kind of a bummer, but I'm going to do it. I'll probably stream some of it, but I'm going to be showing you some recaps of games, as well as some live play. Yeah, I want to show you guys what this deck can do, because it's extremely strong. I'm super excited about this deck. Absolutely can shit on meta decks. So, yeah. I really appreciate you guys watching. I hope it all makes sense. And don't forget to splash that like button. Then you can doggy paddle on over to that buoy bell and slap that motherfucker up so you can be notified whenever I make more Mermail content, which I'm planning to do hopefully every week, but we'll see how it goes. I'll see you around the reef, you sexy bitch. Later, dudes!